Caleb McLaughlin speaks out about the racism in the Stranger Things fandom. He says it took a toll on me, which I thought was, there must be some really crazy claims here, like something really bad must have happened. But this is what it says. It says, Caleb McLaughlin faced some covert and overt racism as he rose to stardom while portraying Lucas Sinclair in Stranger Things. The star made an appearance at the Heroes Comic-Con convention in Belgium over the weekend and talked about some of the experiences he had as a black actor on the beloved Netflix show. This is the quote. He says, "It definitely took a toll on me as a younger kid," the actor said in a video captured by an attendee. "My very first Comic-Con, some people didn't stand in my line because I was black. Some people told me, oh, I didn't want to be in your line because you were mean to 11. Those are two very, very different things.
You know what that sounds like is at the beginning of the show, they had a younger audience than they have now because the audience has grown up with it. Yeah. And that sounds like a statement that was probably made by someone like 10 years old or younger who thinks that the show is real life, thinks that the cast members are who their characters are. And he wasn't the most well-liked character on the show. It was actually his younger sister in the show that was more well-liked than him, and that's why they've given her more and more lines as the show went on. And he was known to be the neurotic, paranoid friend who
but he was never the leading star.
Suspicious of... Well, sure, yeah, he wasn't the leading star, but it's also supposed to be an ensemble cast, right? But he was more suspicious of Eleven at the beginning of the show and whatever. But like you just have to accept that like some people can't separate your character from who you are in real life.
And beyond that, I kind of fall in the line of like extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And just
but what was he supposed to do? Wear a wire?
No, what I'm saying is that he's saying they said that they didn't come into my line because I was black, and then he just makes a separate point that has nothing to do with it. He doesn't say one person said this to me, another person said this to me. He just makes that claim and then just casually moves on.
It's very presumptuous, and it's like telling how plainly he put it because it sounds like something that he was told since he started.
And this is what scares me. My belief tends to be that if this actor was 30 years old, I would buy that it was publicity, that they're just doing it because that's racism so hot right now in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. But 20 years old, I buy that they actually have been raised to believe this, that the reason why you in an ensemble cast who was not the lead actor of the show didn't get more people coming through your line because of the color of your skin and not because you just simply weren't the main character of the show.
He started when he was like 13. He's grown up with this show and it's the main thing he's known for. And when you're that age, getting your first breakout role, you're going to believe what the adults around you tell you about what it means to the world.
That scares me. It scares me because they're going to feed into that narrative. And he does point out that he says, he added, even now, some people don't follow me or don't support me because I'm black. Sometimes overseas, you feel the racism, you feel the bigotry. Sometimes it's hard to talk about and for people to understand. But when I was younger, it definitely affected me a lot. He's kind of putting it on people in another country here.
He said, why is this a deep conversation right now? Why am I the least favorite? Why don't I have followers? I'm on the same as everybody else in season 1, but then, it's a sad story. It's because you're the black child in the show.
It's so sad that he's on a TV show, first of all.
Very, very sad.
I mean, it's a lot of privilege to have.
Yeah. Well, he's not a breakout character.
No.
He's not a breakout actor.
He's also not the only black actor in the show either.
Yeah. I haven't seen it since the end of the second season. I just kind of or the one where Millie Bobby Brown she's a breakout star. She's been in movies.
She's absolutely huge.
Finn Wolfhard has been. He has a band.
Though I feel bad for him because he's kind of been typecast that he's going to play Finn Wolfhard literally forever.
That's fine.
What does that mean?
Michael Cera. He's a new Michael Cera.
Yeah, he's kind of like Ghostbusters. Like anything he's in, he's just kind of Stranger Things-esque.
Yeah.
Like sci-fi? Do you think he's typecasted for that genre, or is he typecasted as a certain personality?
I think it's the way he looks. I think he's going to get certain roles because of the way his image is presented on camera.
For now, because he hasn't really done anything different. Like if you watched Red Letter Media's review of Ghostbusters Afterlife, they kept referring to him as Stranger Things.
Yeah, exactly.
in the Stranger Things went and he finds a car and is this. So I thought that was funny. But I mean, he's in a band that will play like at small clubs and stuff. And
it's interesting how many musicians are in band, or how many actors are in bands.
Yeah, but I mean, he has other things going on.
Yeah.
And then you have the I don't remember his name, the one that had the tooth.
Yeah.
The teeth. And then he did the prank show, right? So like he was able to do things. This kid, he has 15.4 million followers on the Instagram, but he's a victim.
That's hilarious.
Right? And that makes little to no sense to me. But it's also like, I feel like for them, they're going to push that narrative because it's beneficial. They've made it beneficial for them in society right now.
Everybody doesn't like me because some people, don't like that I'm black. It's like, okay. I mean,
what to me is interesting is how the small little bizarre ways journalism has gotten around all this stuff. Because you see how they write this? Mm-hmm. Black is capitalized, but white is not capitalized. Well, they decided on that a few years ago.
But who? Like what central authority
the
dictates
manuals,
you have
the
to?
Chicago Manual and all these people. The colleges pumped it out, so they the newspapers and the magazines have to follow these guidelines, and
they have to. That's considered bad grammar if they don't.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not to me, but to them, they think you're a bad person if you don't capitalize a certain color.
Yeah. So it says McLaughlin said as a teen that he was wondering why he didn't have as many social media followers as some of his co-stars, and asked his parents why he was so often the least favorite among the castmates. And this is the worst part too, because this means his parents said this to him and put this in his head. They said, "Because I was born with beautiful chocolate skin, I'm not loved," he said. "But that's why with my platform, I want to spread positivity and love because I do not give hate back to people who give hate to me." I can appreciate the positive message of it, but I feel bad for him that this was what he was taught, right? Like, if you're entering this space, Hollywood, you're going to be bombarded by people who are going to have opinions on you, good or bad.
Yeah.
And they're not always going to be attributed to the color of your skin. In fact, I would argue that despite what Hollywood says, very little of it has to do with that.
I think when you're blatantly not one of the favorites from your ensemble cast, it's easier to blame it on an immutable characteristic that you have. You'd think otherwise, but it's easier to blame it on that than to look at how you could improve your performance. Yeah. Because he was completely outshined by the girl who played his little sister, and people like her way more. People like Finn Wolfhard way more.
The girl from Stranger Things kind of falls in the same category as the girl from Ghostbusters 2016, who also ended up being kind of the breakout role of that movie. Like, so the young girls are like they're starting to have their careers flourish because they're getting more they're getting roles that put them front and center, which allows them, when it works, to shine. And these side characters aren't getting that same effort, but it takes a lot of skill, finesse, and work to kind of work your way up from a side character and become a main character.
Because if that little girl hadn't been so well liked when she showed up, they wouldn't have even brought her back for other seasons.
Exactly.
She might have never showed up again.
And they get a lot of notes from studios that say, "We want more of this. We want more of this." Sometimes that's just not in the cards. And these studios have what they want, and it feels like he's never going to get that push in this show. He may pivot to something else down the line that ends up being more successful for him. He could end up, you could find out that this dude ends up doing something where he's the lead character and he ends up leaning into it and being very, very good, but he isn't going to be given that opportunity in ensemble cast, which is what a majority of Hollywood is doing right now, is ensemble casts.
Well, wouldn't you think it's, I don't know, since you can change how you perform and you can improve, wouldn't it be easier to cope with thinking, oh, people just want more from my acting, than to think they hate me for who I am, and like my uncontrollable characteristics.
I mean, I feel like that's what it would have been.
It seems like a generational difference that
exactly.
Well, because people don't like you as much, you would want to improve and change, versus people don't like you as much, so you assume the absolute worst of their intentions.
Well, do you guys think, compared to the other players in the ensemble, that he's on their level or not as good of an actor?
I always thought they kind of the writers gave him just poor lines and a poor arc in general. I started watching the newest season. I couldn't get far into it, and it seemed like they were giving him like more of like a thing. Like there was the love thing happening. It was falling apart, and it was maybe he has in the new season some ability to act
Sink's
more.
Character.
Yeah. Like something was happening there, but I just didn't care. But remember
That's
the
more of
first
a failure
season-
of the showrunners.
That's
then.
failure of
Right,
showrunners.
yeah.
But in the first season, I feel like it was both things. Poor writing for his character, plus he just wasn't up there with
They're
the rest
also
of his,
adding more and more new characters
Yeah.
like Billy.
True.
And like
they become
Vecna.
stars.
And they've really changed the tone of the show as they've
Yeah.
grown up as well
That's
to more
very common.
serious,
Yeah.
less whimsical, less kid friendly also. And that makes sense, but maybe he's just having a hard time adapting his own performance to that. I don't know.
As shows evolve, especially if they start adding characters but not taking characters out in tandem, like when they add but don't subtract, you'll find that the characters that were considered the main kind of ensemble parts that weren't the main star, but the lead, the second co-lead, will start getting pushed to the backdrop in favor of either the new players, or that lead will get an even more advanced role.
Yeah.
And it seems like he was just off the mark.
Like Family Matters.
Yeah.
Oh, great show.
You know, Urkel was not supposed to be like the thing.
Yeah.
But that's
Took over.
Yeah.
How could you deny Urkel?
And then you have Urkel and the father doing more things together than the actual father and son.
Which makes no sense, but
That show got wacky. He was time traveling at one point.
I was thinking of the same thing happened with like Arrow, when in season 1 and 2, Oliver Queen was literally in almost every scene in the show, and the actor actually said that it was like it started to take a toll on him mentally because he's doing 19 hours a day, 6 days a week. But as the show progressed and they add more characters, he becomes a background player almost in his own show, still getting the most screen time, but way more spread out over a bunch of side characters that weren't introduced to later seasons, which seemed like nobody actually liked, and that's very common in that genre.
Yeah, and it's not like Stranger Things can't give other characters like Billy, like what Mary's saying, or like the mother, in that first season when she's freaking out. They can get their due and get good lines and get chances to act really well. So I don't know what happened with him, because I think he could be a good actor. I guess he's being outshined.
Is it a sign of the times we live in, or is it a sign of? Do you think this is something that we're only seeing because it's Hollywood, or do you think this is actually a sign of our culture at large? Do you think,
what he's saying?
Yeah. Do you think that this is unique to them in Hollywood, or do you think that this is going to be a broader problem on a societal level?
I think this is just a manufactured idea in this kid.
Yeah.
Any child actor these days is going to be infected with these ideas before they have a chance to form opinions of their own.
That's terrifying to me, because they're going to carry. This is what I talk about when I talk about. You can think that this stuff is frivolous and that it doesn't matter, but these people's social media profiles are immense. They have lots of followers. Those clips will be seen by hundreds of thousands of people, and those ideas will then filter down into the populace, and they become a mouthpiece for ideas that they don't even fully understand because they're so young. And that's where I think that people should
He's
be
one of the
paying-
oldest cast members, so the rest of them maybe are even more impressionable at the beginning.
Pay less attention. Like, people are paying less
Like,
attention
think about
to
Gaten Matarazzo's the kid. I don't know, like, he did this show where he wanted to trick people into thinking that they got a job.
Oh, that's awful.
Right.
And then pull the
no job
carpet
for you.
out from under them.
That's some elitist
And
stuff
can you
right there.
imagine? Yes, it is.
Dang.
Can you imagine the backing of all those adults in that production that made him think that was a good idea?
Yes.
Perhaps knowing that it would embroil him in controversy, but pushing him into the idea anyway and telling him it was fine.
How old would he have been at the time of that?
I think he was like 17.
Like, I feel like even at 17, you should understand that that's like,
You should,
that's
but he
not
was
funny.
he
Like,
was in this industry since he was like 11
Yeah.
years old, and if you have yes men at the age of like 12, what will you get into? What trouble will you get into? It's endless.
They're industry yes men.
He was probably like, wow, I'm going to be the next Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the next Pranked.
Yeah, no.
do you think,
Yeah, no.
do you think many people his age are really pushing to be the next Ashton Kutcher? I can't imagine.
They're out there.
I mean,
He's making a comeback now. He was sick for a while. He had
The Gaten kid?
No,
Or Ashton
Kutcher.
Kutcher?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Ashton Kutcher.
I never knew he was gone.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.